Greetings friends, jawlesspaul here. In this video, we're going over the new game, Have a Nice Death. Wanted to talk about some of the core mechanics in the game and just kind of do a deep dive into how everything works, some different types of weapons or spells that you want to look out for, and just how to have the best run possible. So I've got about 80 hours into the game or so as of the making of this video, so I've got a pretty good understanding of how the different mechanics in the game works. Obviously I haven't played the full release yet, but it's coming out in just a few days, so this should be a pretty good starting point for you if you're learning to play the game. So without further ado, let's get into it. We'll start with the spells and weapons in the game and how those work. All right, let's take a look. So this is your main starting hub, but let's take a look at some of the different items that you can find in the game. They have a way for you to test the different items out by going here. So first off, let's take a look at some of the different scythes that are available. You have the base scythe, which is just your very basic attack. Nothing super interesting. It's a melee attack. It's quick. It's got a charge up attack, although this is the same for all of these scythes, I think. At least as of this time, they're all the same. But one thing to note with any scythe is that it's got an up attack, and the up attack allows you to get a significantly higher range. And then you can also spend some time in the air by attacking, and you can even kind of like chain those together with your dash to stay up in the air even longer. This is going to be really important when you are fighting bosses. Okay, so I mentioned the dis scythe. This is one that I think is extremely good because of just the range that it has. Like if you notice this, it's actually got that second attack pulls enemies toward you, so you get them close, and then you do that attack, which is a huge number of hits, which can be very, very powerful. So this side is pretty cool. Parasol is cool. You actually get defense as you level these up. They all have different kind of upgrade paths that you can go down, and some of the upgrades are pretty awesome. But they've all got different attack types and methods. I'm sure they're going to add more of these, but as of now, let's take a look at the Dith Scythe and the bill hooks. The bill hooks are great because they're also ranged like that. I particularly like those because of the range. And then we can look at some of the. So if you hold down the left trigger, you get into this kind of. You have to use your frenzy attack. So let's look at the frenzy attack for the bill hooks. It's pretty great. It fires off this scythe that spins around and follows enemies around. You can't see it here, but it does follow enemies around. Not all of the rage abilities are that amazing, but actually the base scythe has one of the best ones. I'll show that to you here in just a sec. All right, here you go. So here's the rage attack for the base scythe. Pretty amazing. Just kind of attacks everything in the screen. Just super strong. But you can experiment with those as you go. But let's go over some of the cloak items. So cloak items, as you can see, there's an attack amount, and there's also a little clock. That's the cooldown. So if we pull up the behemoth and we use it, it's a fairly slow attack, and then it's got a little cooldown before you can use it again. And it's got a frenzy attack as well, though the behemoths is pretty terrible. I'm not going to go over all of them, obviously. Let's see if we can look at some of the more interesting ones. Feral Fist is pretty good. The rarity is just as you might imagine, white being not very rare, or although that doesn't necessarily mean it's not good, but it's just less rare. And then green being the next level up, followed by blue, purple, and even legendary. Although I think their balancing is a little bit off right now. Legendary doesn't necessarily mean it's much better. So here are the Feral Fists. As you can see, it's got a longer cooldown, but it's got different damage. And if you look at if you look at the Feral Fist, it applies something, you can't really see it, but it applies deflation, which there's a range of what the damage can be with the Feral Fists, which is kind of interesting. Let's look at another one, I guess. So like the Revelation's bow has got ammunition, so you fire 3 off and then it's got like ammo that it regenerates. Pretty good. 40 damage isn't terrible. Let's see. So anyway, these are fun to experiment with. They don't cost any mana. You just use them and they do a variety of things. So they also have like passive effects. So this one increases your ammo. So if you have the fire bow, it increases the number of attacks with the Revelation bow that you would have. So if you had a bow build, you could do that. Not everything has ammo though, so you're not guaranteed to get that. It's not going to benefit everything, and it doesn't increase like any spells that you might have. So as you can see, there's a lot of different options. I'm sure they're going to add more, but it's a fairly solid list to start. And then spells, there's even more spells than there are cloak items, and I think spells right now are some of the most powerful that you can find as far as abilities go. Let's see. There's just a ton of wonderful spells for you to try. That's explosion. It's not huge, but it does do a decent amount of damage, and if you have a lot of mana, you can imagine that's very, very good. Let's see. Let's look at another interesting one. So Spitfire applies burn, so it kind of like burns the ground and applies a burn debuff on enemies. We'll go over what burn does in a bit, but that's kind of an interesting one. Okay, and then there are things like Mortison or Sacrifix. Or Vladislaw. They don't actually do any damage. Instead, what they do is they heal you, or they provide a different kind of effect. Like Mortison gives you intoxicated. It takes away. It gives you some bonus attack for a bit, which is good. If you're kind of more of a Cloak or Scythe build, if you're in that kind of a build, Mortison will be pretty good. Otherwise, it does hurt you though. As you can see, it brought our health down. But then there's something called Sacrifix, which is really interesting. Very, very, very strong abilities again. So it creates 2 cups of coffee. Coffee heals you, but as you can see, it reduced our health a little bit. We can pick up the cups of coffee again, and it comes back. Kind of interesting, but the really interesting part of that one, Sacrifix is one of the most important ones, because if you use the ultimate for Sacrifix, it applies healing over time, and so it heals your injuries, which is incredible. So you're back to full health. So that's a really good one to get. Keep your eyes out for Sacrifix. That's very good. Vladislaw is also really good. Vladislaw will damage, or it will heal you. So say I've lost some health. Let's see. Let's go here, and let's put this on. See if we put Sacrifix on, and we lose some health, right? We've lost a bit of health. We can use Vladislaw to heal us, but it'll reduce our max health. So we're at 65 max health. It'll bring us to 60 health. So we brought down our max health, but then, we brought down our max health, but healed ourselves, which is pretty great. But what's really great about this, so if you have your rage bar filled up to the max and you use your Vladislaw, it increases your max health every single time you use it. So boom, I'm back to 65. So what's nice about this is that early on in the game, if you find Vladislaw, you can increase your max health by a whole heck of a lot. And then during boss fights, when you want to kind of stay alive, you can burn through your health, your max health, in order to stay alive. It's incredibly, incredibly potent. So that's one to keep an eye on. Another one that's really important to keep an eye on, I think, is Mosquilto. Now, I'll talk about how you find things like Mosquito when you're out in the world, because they're hard to find. They're legendary, but there is a way to find legendaries. It's actually kind of easier to find a legendary than almost anything else, at least as of this writing. So you don't see it here. It doesn't say it in the tooltip. Here, I'm gonna move myself a little bit here. Now, it doesn't say it in the tooltip, but if you level up Mosquito, it also will heal you. So it'll take your health and injuries, which are the grayed out parts of your health, will regenerate with the damage that Mosquito does, which, as you can imagine, is great. Plus, it tracks enemies, so you don't have to watch and aim anything. It just kind of automatically goes and shoots and gets your health back for you. If you use the rage, it sends off 2 swarms of mosquitoes, which does even more damage, and also heals you. So that's something to keep in mind when you are looking for weapons. Is there different spells, especially, that will heal you, and those are particularly important. As you can imagine, with a roguelike, you are often in a situation where you need to heal yourself, and these are some of the ways that you can do that. Voracious Burst is another one that's great. Just having this spell reduces your max health by 15, but the ultimate, you guessed it, increases your max health. And so if you use the ultimate and it kills anything, it will increase your max health by a set amount. So let's take a look. Let's see what it says here. For each enemy eaten, you'll gain additional max HP. So you can get a lot of max HP with that. And so using that, it heals you, but then if you kill anything with that, it also will give you max health, which is pretty amazing. So that's another one to keep an eye out for. Let me see here, some other good ones. Wish Storm is great. Wish Storm is another one that the regular attack just kind of, or the regular use of it just generally attacks enemies wherever they are, and it will follow them around, kind of firing these little like lightning bolt things. But then if you use the ultimate, if you stand in the beam, it heals you of injuries. So if you set this up and you stand in it, it'll heal injuries. You can see all those ones going up. It doesn't give you any max health, and it won't heal you beyond where your injuries are, which is that gray bar, but it will heal that other stuff, which is pretty amazing. Beyond those, I would say just keep your eyes out for any unique effects that you find from these. Tempest Abjurum is another interesting one. It like freezes enemies in place, which is pretty useful. But there's lots of different, some of them, like Tornadman, I don't see why that's a legendary. I don't see why, what's the other one? I don't know why Boulder Rain is a legendary. It fills the screen with boulders, but it doesn't heal you. It just does damage. There's lots of different spells that do damage, so I don't know why it's so special. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Oh, another one that you want to keep your eyes out for is Dark Claws. And the reason is Dark Claws applies bleed, which I'm going to talk about bleed. But as you can see, each time you apply bleed, it adds a stack up to 10. And then once you have 10 damage, then it just every hit from Dark Claws does 10 additional damage, which is pretty great. I'll go over into more detail what bleed does, but that's kind of a general idea. So yeah, those are some of the different weapons. That's how they work. In the course of the game, you'll find bonuses to either spells or cloak items or Scythe, and I'll kind of go over what types of curses apply to those different things here in just a bit. All right, let's take a look at some of the different curses that you can find in the game. So this is a good example of the way the different colored curses work. As you can see here, you've got 4 options. One of them is Cloak of the Gods. So that's a red curse. It gives the cloak more damage. So those are the weapons that you find in the game, not the spells. It only applies to the weapons. So each attack from the cloak deals +5 bonus damage. This is especially good if you have a really fast attacking cloak weapon. Some weapons and some spells are like slow but have one big enormous explosion or hit. This curse isn't going to benefit those as much. There's like percentage increase curses that you can also find, and that would be a little bit better for that. But if you have a fast attacking weapon, that curse would be really good. The health kiln is a blue curse. Blue curses tend to be more about defense or bonus health or other types of like kind of secondary effects, but the blue curses are very, very strong. You shouldn't neglect blue curses at all. But here you can see it gives you 30 bonus HP, which is awesome. And then green curses have to do with your spells typically, although not exclusively. Both red and green curses have some overlap with the Scythe, the cloak weapons, or the spells, but just generally speaking, green is going to affect your mana and your spells a little bit more. Red is going to affect your cloak items and your Scythe a little bit more, and then there'll be some overlap. But like periodic launches crows, that's like that doesn't really matter. It's not really either a spell or not a spell. It's just an effect that happens. But refinement is when you use so that's kind of an interesting one. If you use a cloak item or your Scythe, you get 10 mana regenerated, which is pretty awesome. If you have a spell build that uses a lot of mana, but you also want to use your Scythe, that's great because the Scythe is fast and you can regenerate a lot of mana. You use up your spells, you use your Scythe, you get your mana back, you use your spells again. It kind of works nicely there. If you notice the little like upside down triangle with like the thorny branches wrapped around, that means that there's a penalty associated with that. So let's play the video and see what I choose here. I think I end up choosing something with a penalty. I think I choose Mana Eater weapons here. Yeah, so refinement gives 10 mana. Here are two different possible penalties. These two different types of enemies will do a different effect. So Bubba Booms will explode and deal damage. Usually they just kind of chill you and slow you down. The Waldo Super Supreme Hardcore Box, the tongue attacks reach farther. Now, that's for a very specific biome. So one cool trick is that if you are in a different biome than the enemies that are affected by the penalty, you should take that penalty because you're not going to run into that enemy until you go to that biome, and you may never go to that biome. So those can be really good penalties to take if you happen to see them. But there's a lot of different curses that you can look out for in the game. One of them that is really, really good, or any of them that say infuse. Infuse means that anytime you hit an enemy with either your Scythe, your cloak, or a spell, it will have an effect. So one of them is infuse bleed, which increases the damage that any hit will do on an enemy up to a certain point. It kind of stacks. And then another one that's really good is lightning. So every time you hit an enemy with the Scythe or the cloak or a spell, a lightning bolt will come down and hit an enemy, and that's affected by your spell damage. So if you have increases to spell damage, those lightning bolts will hit for even more, which is great. Another one that's good is poison. So poison works similarly to bleed, except that it's not each additional hit that the damage is applied. It just kind of ticks regularly. So you can build up 10 stacks of poison, and then those 10 stacks, the damage will just kind of tick off 10, 10, 10, 10. Not depending on when you hit the enemy with a weapon or a spell or the Scythe. So all really good options. And then the final one is burn. Burn is kind of a strange one because burn is kind of like poison, except it always does 5 damage. It always just does 5 damage unless you get some buff to it later. So burn does 5 damage always. Poison starts at 1 and it builds up the more stacks of poison you apply on an enemy. And then bleed builds up stacks, but you only get the damage for each hit that you have with either the Scythe, the cloak, or a spell. Another one that's out there is infuse freeze, so that slows enemies when you hit them with a attack of some kind. My understanding, based on some patch notes, is that you can only have one infuse at a time. So choose wisely. Don't pick up one and then hope to find another one later. You won't find that. But just kind of here's how it works. Infuse bleed and infuse freeze are both red curses. Okay, you'll find them in the red curse tree. Infuse burn and infuse poison are both in the blue tree, and infuse lightning is in the green tree. So just something to keep in mind. But those are very, very powerful. You want to keep your eyes out for those because they are kind of like build defining. They can really make or break a run for you if you find the right one. Okay, so I mentioned some of the infuse effects, doing some of their effects that they have in the game, and so I wanted to kind of show you what those look like. There are spells that apply those infuse effects as well. So let's look at that. Let's look at Poison Gift. You can see what I'm talking about. So if I use Poison Gift, that applies 2 stacks of poison to that guy. You see how he's taking 2 damage just kind of automatically, right? So that's what poison looks like, and it goes up to a certain stack. So 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 is the max. There are different curses that can raise that, but as you can see, as the stacks go down, so too do the numbers. Okay, so that is how poison works. Let's take a look at yeah, we looked at bleed a little bit. I'll show that to you again. But bleed, as you can see there, it starts low, and then as you keep applying stacks, then eventually it gets to 10, and then each time I use that, it gives 10 damage. Now, one thing to keep in mind though is that infuse will work for any attack, but on that ability it only works for that spell, not for anything else. So infuse is much stronger, but as you level up, one fun thing to look for is that as you level up Dark Claws with Solary or Prismium, you get more stacks of bleed, and those will work for your infuse as well. So Dark Claws can be a great one if you have infused bleed already. You still want to pick up Dark Claws because you can get more stacks of bleed, which is always better. Okay, let's see. Let's look at what lightning looks like. Oh, sorry, I didn't pick it up. Let's take a look at what lightning looks like in the game. Okay, so that's what lightning looks like. It doesn't apply that way. It just kind of a lightning strike falls from the sky and hits enemies. You've seen what burn looks like. We showed you what burn looks like, what poison looks like. Oh, we could look at what frost looks like. Right here, this applies frost. So as you can see, he's blue, he's got his little snowflakes. That means that he goes slower. There's also another one called Arcane. So stacks of Arcane will build up, and then they'll explode after a certain point. So that's another good infuse. You can get that for, I believe you can get Arcane stacking for the Cloak or the Scythe. And then some spells just have them naturally on them, but that can be really good. And then this weapon has a pretty cool fury effect there. So that is the what's that weapon called? Or what's the spell called? I like this one, the Sepulchre Ray. Anyway, those are some of the status effects that you can find in the game. Very, very powerful. Keep your eyes out for them. Okay, here's just another example for you of different possible curses that you can find. As you can see here, the Scythe deals plus 15 bonus damage. That is a ton. That is a really, really powerful curse that you can find to get 15 bonus damage on your Scythe. But then you can also see there the 15% bonus damage on your Scythe. So if you have larger, kind of slower hitting Scythe, that one might be better for you. Although I would say that the Scythe dealing plus 15 bonus damage is always going to be better than the Scythe dealing 15% bonus damage, because I don't think you're getting any hits for 100 with the Scythe. So yeah, Star Knife Scythe there is going to be much, much better. And then you can see Incantum is a great spell curse that gives 2 bonus damage. It doesn't seem like as much as with the Scythe, but there are many spells out there that do multiple very quick hits, and some of them don't even require you to aim at all. Like you just have to hit the button and the spell will hit enemies, and you don't even have to aim them. So some of those spells are very powerful. All right, let's talk a little bit about health and healing in Have a Nice Death. So as with any roguelike, you want to make sure that your health stays up, because if you die, you lose all the progress for the run. That's kind of like the whole deal with roguelikes. So how does healing work in this game? Well, you have two different, you have one health bar, as you can see up there, but you have two different like ways that the health can go down. It can either go down in the form of injury, and that's that little kind of like lighter red portion of the health bar in the upper left that you're seeing. And then there's just kind of like your health gone, and that's kind of the more red, the dark red. It's either gray or black, or if you're really low, it starts to pulse red and light red. Here, I'll play the video so you can kind of see what it looks like. Kind of pulses like that. Some things will heal only injuries, so that gray section of your health bar can be regenerated with certain abilities or certain types of healing mechanics. And then some more powerful healing mechanics will heal even the black bar part of your health bar. So those are really powerful, really important to keep your eye out for. All right, so one of the important ways to heal yourself in this game are through these little blue balls that you saw there. Those are called anima. So you can use anima to heal your health. The blue anima can be used to heal the injury or the gray part of your health, whereas the yellow anima can be used to heal the black part of your health bar, or it'll bring up your injury up a little bit as well. So when you're picking up anima, if you pick up 2 blue, well, you start with 3 slots. I'm on a higher difficulty level, so I'm down to 2. But if you have all of your slots filled with blue anima, the next blue anima that you pick up will upgrade one of those to a yellow anima, and you can use that then to increase your health, your black up. Raise up your health into the black as well. So that's a very important way of healing. Anima also have a unique ability to open secret doors. So you kind of always want to have one anima available to you. Unless you're in dire need of health, you want to save that until you find one of those locked secret doors. And I mentioned this before, but spells are another way to get your health back. A lot of those spells that I mentioned earlier in the video, those are some of the best ways to get healing in the game. So keep your eyes out for those particular spells, and they might add more in the game. I'm not sure, but as of this recording, as of this video, the ones that I listed are some of the best for healing up your character back to full health. So then another important way to heal your character is through the refrigerator. So after you kill the boss of the biome, or they call it the sorrow, you'll have a chance to check in the fridge. And as you saw there, that fridge item was not a healing item. I think that was a damage item. But a lot of times you'll find an item in the fridge will make all of your health loss, turn it into injury, so it becomes gray. So then you're more ways to refill that. Some of them will just do a pure heal for a certain amount, but most of them kind of have a different sort of effect on the game. Eyeball stew gives you 50% bonus damage for 10 minutes. I almost never take those because in my mind the fridge is primarily for healing, although there are some exceptions. There's some really good fridge items that you can find that do some pretty cool effects. So, but the fridge is another way of getting some healing. And then finally, the curses. There are some curses that you can find that provide healing, although a lot of times those are only for injury or the gray portion of your health. But some of them are good for healing as well. So keep your eyes out for different possible curses that you can find. Okay, another really important concept I want to talk about is the control room. So at the end of the biomes, sometimes you'll have a chance to go to the shop or the control room. And the control room is very, very important. And I'll show you why here. Let's play the video and you'll kind of see what you can do in the control room. So it's this giant cauldron. You can talk to the cauldron, and basically what the control room lets you do is it lets you upgrade your abilities, your spells, and your cloak items, and your scythe. And there's even like additional forms of the scythe that you can unlock in the control room with Prismium. There's 2 resources up there. If you can see, right now we have 260 Solary and 2 Prismium. Prismium is much more valuable. I'd say a Prismium is generally worth about 100 Solary, so you can kind of think of it like that, the exchange rate. So any chance you can find Prismium, that is a huge deal, because a single Prismium lets you level up your weapons, whereas like if we're looking at let's see, I think we've selected the firebow there. The firebow costs 188 Solary to upgrade, but a single Prismium will upgrade it to the final level. As you can see, it's got 2 skulls underneath firebow. You see the 2 skulls. That means it's level 2 right now. If we wanted to give it to the final level, it would either cost us 188 Solary or a single Prismium. So very, very strong to get Prismium. You want to find that as often as you can. But then you want to unlock those things, because as you can see here, just as an example, if we were to level up the firebow to level 3, it already gives us 3 bonus ammo, but all cloak projectiles would go from giving us +8 damage to +15 damage. So that would apply to the firebow or the revelation bow, or if we had other projectile based cloak items, they would also have the +15 bonus damage, which is pretty amazing. So you definitely want to be looking out for the control room to upgrade your weapons, upgrade your spells, and to upgrade your scythe. The scythe also has some pretty amazing places that you can upgrade it, so you want to keep your eye out for that. So we upgraded our revelation bow to level 3. And then we also upgraded our scythe to level 1, which increased the bonus damage that we get from that scythe. That's kind of a strange scythe, the selenite. Anyway, control room, very, very strong. If you can see look up at the top, right now we're on the upgrade screen, but there's also the transform screen. So if you didn't like the way your scythe worked, you could change the scythe to a different form, or you could upgrade the form. So this gives us bonus damage on the scythe. It's a little complex, but you can also transform the scythe to a different version of it with Prismium. That doesn't affect the level. The level stays the same, but you've upgraded it in the transform menu, and I'll show you an example of that. All right, so in this build we have the disc scythe, the witch storm, and the slaymore, and we go over to the transform screen here, and as you can see, there's you can either spend a Prismium to transform to the sickles, or the twinsy, which is the kind of the staff with 2 different things, but we choose instead to upgrade the disc scythe to the next one up here. So we go up to Perseid's scythe, which does bonus damage to nearby enemies, and then the top ranked one does bonus damage beyond that as well. So bonus damage to nearby enemies, and then we also did the periodically deals 25 damage to nearby enemies on top of that. So you can also spend your Prismium to upgrade your scythe in a different way as well, and then we also just kind of upgrade it from there with Solary. Kind of an interesting way to upgrade your weapons, but I kind of like it. I think there's a lot of depth to how you level up your stuff in the game, and so definitely want to check those things out. for sure in the control room. And finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about another resource. We talked about prismium, we talked about solary. Those are kind of in-run currencies, but you also find ingots, and ingots are used here. You spend your ingots to unlock various spells and weapons, even different scythe forms you can purchase here, and different types of food that you can find in the break room fridge. So it's really important to get ingots. You get ingots both in the game as you're playing some of the larger, more dangerous enemies. You might think you just want to pass those by when you're playing because they are dangerous, but if you kill them, they drop ingots, and then you also get ingots at the end of a run, depending on how far you got, how many enemies you killed, etc., etc. So ingots are just a final resource I wanted to talk about in the game that you definitely want to keep your eye out for and purchase. So how do you want to spend your ingots early on? Well, I would say that there are many different ways to spend it. Obviously, all of these spells are available to you, but as I mentioned, there are some that are extremely strong. And actually, it's kind of funny. They're all like right here. Like this one is really good. This spell here, the Mosquito, obviously, the bees are really strong. Vladislaw, Sacrifix. Those are all really strong. Mortison, I wouldn't worry about Mortison. I guess that's not too bad, or not too strong. We talked about Dark Claws. Dark Claws is very good. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can unlock, and some are going to be more powerful than others, for sure. Wish Storm is incredibly good. You want to unlock that as soon as possible, I'd say, so you can start finding it in your runs. Let's see, is there any others that are especially good? So there's two that I haven't unlocked either. There's one cloak item and one spell that I haven't unlocked because you kind of have to beat the game at really high difficulty levels. Oh yeah, I mentioned this one. Can't remember what this one's called, but it gives you bonus max health, and it also heals injuries. Its base attack does heals injuries. So anyway, that's kind of some stuff that you can spend your ingots on, and so you want to unlock those as soon as you can. And there's going to be challenges associated with each of those unlocks you'll see when you're playing. But yeah, that's it. That's that. When you're playing, you'll also have a chance with ingots to unlock this guy. So at the start of your run, you have a chance to take these contracts. Some of them are just like you get 25 solary. That's pretty good. This one gives you a green weapon. There's different levels of shininess on the weapons, and that determines whether it's a green, blue, gray, green, blue, or purple weapon. I don't believe you can get legendary weapons. Oh, then some of them are really interesting. This is a reroll, so you can reroll curses. But then this is, you take 30 damage at the start of the run, but if you kill 30 enemies in the game without taking damage, you get a prismium. So as you might imagine, that's really good. Prismium is good, and it's not too hard once you kind of know what some of the enemies do, and especially in the first stage, they don't do too much. They're pretty easy to dodge. This one is good. You get 100 solary. You get 100 solary now, and you take 30 damage now. So that's not too bad. We're gonna be at low health here. We're gonna have only 5 health, but that's definitely okay. So then here, I believe this is going to be a gray weapon. I think I'll just take this gray weapon. This would be a purple weapon, I believe, but we would die if we took this now. So we don't want to take that. Let's take this weapon, and then we'll see what we actually get. Okay, so we got that's actually a gray weapon, but it's kind of a better gray weapon, it looks like. I'm not exactly sure how they determine that, but if you look at it, yeah, that's a gray base cloak item. But the firebow is not a bad weapon. Okay, and then we have the thing unlocked where it lets us kind of start out with a different scythe weapon. So let's take a look at, you've seen the bill hooks. Let's see what the sickles look like. The sickles are kind of like a faster scythe weapon. But if we fire our bow, You can see it hits enemies. It actually seeks enemies. And we want to try to kill enemies without taking any damage so that we can get some bonuses. But I want to show you a little bit where you can find these secrets that you use your anima to unlock. Those are really important because you find a lot of legendary items that way. Yeah, see, there's one. Actually, this is perfect. So if we use our anima there, I don't know if you saw the little shimmer, but if we use our anima there, it opens up this door, and this one just gave us three golden anima. So it was an upgrade, but a lot of times you can actually find legendary weapons in there, and it's probably the best way to find legendary weapons, as far as I'm aware, is to find those secret doors. Oop. Those guys are dangerous, man. They get me a lot. The little flying books. Cloak deals 5% critical. Yeah, let's take it. Let's go. But as you can see, this first stage, we already found a secret. I got some anima. We could heal up here, but no reason to yet. Let's go equipment storage. We'll just play through just a little bit, just so you get a sense of what some of the things we're talking about, how they work. All right. It's not, as I said, it's not too hard to avoid taking damage. You just want to be careful of, like, these rooms are sort of scary. Ooh boy, okay. Ooh boy, woo-wee. A lot of times you can stun enemies before they have a chance to actually hit you, which is a big deal. you definitely, if you can avoid taking those hits, you want to. Okay, we're nearly there. We almost lost our prismium though, which would have been a huge bummer. Okay, we got it. So there's our prismium. We pick it up. And now we don't have to worry about whether or not we take damage or not, because we're not going to lose anything. Ooh, that was close. That was not necessary. I like this weapon because it seeks enemies. Oh, we got hit. That was kind of unfortunate. It started swinging before we could even see it, which happens in the game sometimes. But as you can see here, we're getting some ingots from just the things that we did. Even though we've only played for a few minutes, we got 78 ingots, but we do have a 20% bonus because of our level, and getting close to level 16. But anyway, that's Have a Nice Death. I hope that's interesting for you guys. I think you're gonna like the game a lot. It's very, very fun, very fast paced. It doesn't have the narrative that I've seen in some other good roguelike games, but it's very engaging. I love the art style, and the animations are very crisp and interesting to look at. So yeah, I hope you get a chance to give it a try, and yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. If you play the game already, how far you've gotten. I'm at breakdown 8. I think it goes to 10, but you have to beat the game with it. And as you can see, there's a lot of pretty nasty downsides when you get to these higher breakdown levels. But yeah, what do you think of the game? Do you like it? Have you played it? And what would you rate it? So long, friends. We'll catch you in the next one.